Hi everyone, it's Omega Olaf here once again with another video for you. We're going to be playing some more Meat Wagon Look. The list is the same as yesterday, which means as before we took out a Gnome Ferradu and a Tar Creeper for a Valkyrie Homunculus and Hook Reaver. We're only going to be playing 2 games today, so that the videos are a little bit shorter and more watchable. Let me know if you like that change or not. In addition, I will be making these videos for at least a few more days, so be sure to subscribe if you are interested in getting more of this content. And after that, I'm not sure whether or not I will continue playing this deck, whether or not I will switch to different decks, and kind of at what frequency I'll be producing. So let me know if you have any feedback about that as well. It kind of depends on your input as well. So for now we're up against a Paladin, which means it's probably odd Paladin. That means we're keeping the Homunculus. The Phantom Militia is worth considering just because it combos so well with the summoning portal, but I think we're just gonna stick with the Homunculus. We really need our early removal, our Defile, and our Despicable Dreadlord especially. Hellfire is also good, and we already drew 2 of those, which is nice. Yeah, it is odd as expected. So we already played against Odd Paladin once a few days ago, and so the game plan is to tap more aggressively than you might expect, to go looking for our answers, because we aren't really pressured by life total as much, and then to look to clear the board and swing it in the span of 2 or 3 turns, and then run away with the game from there. So here Hellfire is worth considering, but he has only the Raid Leader to buff the board right now, which isn't really too much of a threat. So I'm just going to play out the Valkyrie Homunculus at this point. And if he doesn't play anything threatening, I will maybe coin out the Meat Wagon. So the real swing turn that we need to consider here is turn 5 with the level up. We definitely want to clear the board before that, because that can be a lot of damage coming at us. Given that we have the Phantom Militia now, I'm kind of tempted to coin out the Meat Wagon. It means we'll have more damage coming at us. But as I highlighted before, the damage is not generally very much of a concern, because it is always the board that kills us and not the life total, which is why I'm being greedy with these clears, and not too bothered by losing some life in the early game. Probably next turn I will clear the board, and we'll see how it ends up working out. Either next turn or the turn after, I'll probably play the Phantom Militias as well. So he's going to go ahead and clear it already entirely. So I didn't consider that too much actually, but he did only need 2 extra damage. So that was nice by him. I think this warrants a clear at this point. So we're gonna tap and then Defile. We have another Defile and another Hellfire. We have Phantom Militias as follow-up after that to put in some walls. So we're in a very decent spot here. The Stonehill Defender means that from now on we have to be pretty careful of Terram. Although the fact that he chose that very slowly means that it might not actually be Terram. We'll see. So this is a pretty difficult turn. This board isn't really threatening enough to clear at this point, but we can only play 1 Phantom Militia as an alternative. Still, I think I might go ahead and do that, which means I will tap first to see if I get anything else that is more appealing. I don't, so Phantom Militia. Given that one of our summoning portals already died, it's unlikely that we draw the other one, so 2 Phantom Militias isn't really necessary at this point. Next turn, we're hopefully looking at something like Sea Giant Clear or something else. And he's buffing his board pretty well, which is what we tend to be most afraid of. So we're just gonna look to clear as much as possible here. We can actually clear with Spellstone into the file. We Spellstone the Stonehill Defender, and I think that that's probably worth it. We have the double Hellfire as well afterwards. It's a shame. It's worth considering using the Hellfire instead of the Spellstone, because the Hellfire also powers up the Spellstone. But I think the clear is just looking too good at this point, so I'm just going to go ahead and do it. We're still looking for a Despicable Dreadlord mainly. That's the most important card. But we have ways to fend off for several more turns without too much concern. We're most afraid of the Stormwind Champion and the Sunkeeper Terram at this point. So with that in mind, I don't think that this is worth clearing because we don't actually clear out very much. So I'm going to Librarian and double Phantom Militia here. Unless I draw something better, which I don't. So if he goes for the Terram here, we have the Hellfire to clear most of his board away, and also a Faceless to copy it, but that would be a shame. The Stormwind Champion doesn't put as much pressure on us, which is nice, because he can only push through with 2 more damage. But it does mean so the Hellfires aren't really doing much for us here right now. But there's not really much we can do. At this point, pretty much the only play I see is either Giant or Faceless Zola. Neither of them are too appealing. Double Hellfire is actually also worth considering. I didn't see that until now. That does mean we're completely out of clears, but I think it might be our best play here. I'm not sure about that play at all. We're completely out of clears now. We pretty much have to draw into our Despicable Dreadlord as soon as possible, although Hooked Reaver with the Faceless would also be a very good draw. But because of the pressure that we were under, and are still under with the Tyrion now, yeah, because of the pressure we were under, for example, Vine Cleaver would have killed us instantly there. So here, I want to face Lazola, but that means we die because a hit for 1, we don't actually die. So I think that might be our best play here. We almost die, and we are in heaps of trouble at this point, but it's pretty much the only play we have available to us. So I'm gonna do it. Does mean we have another Tyrion for next turn, but we are super behind on board. We don't have the Faceless as a play anymore to bail us out now if we draw into Hooked Reaver. So we're in a very bad spot. It's possible that there were some misplays, and we are actually dead. It's possible that I was too greedy with the clears early on and didn't let the life total affect me enough. For example, the raid leader maybe should have been cleared off earlier. But it's also unfortunate that we keep whiffing on the Despicable Dreadlord, the best card by far in this matchup, because that significantly increases our chances of winning. But I don't want to make it seem like our draw is always causes us to lose, because in this case we had both Defiles and both Hellfires, and probably a wiser use of those cards. For example, using the Hellfire instead of Spellstone Defile might have been better to power up the Spellstone. It means that we could have dealt with the Stormwood Champion. So those are all things to consider. In this matchup, Rogue, Mortal Coils, we're thinking about not the Dreadlords though. They're what you want against Paladin and not Rogue. But besides Glacial Shard, there aren't really any 1-drops that have only 1 health that we can kill off with the Mortal Coil immediately. So I'm just going to toss it and try to look for very good early draws. Also worth considering that there's a lot of Miracle Rogue running around in this High Legend ladder. Yeah, so it is Miracle Rogue, which is, I think, about even maybe. It depends on the skill of the Miracle Rogue player a lot, as well as your own draw. We get an early Mountain Giant and we are probably just going to go for it, especially now that we have the Faceless, but Sap kind of wrecks our day a lot, so it's worth considering going for a Meat Wagon, for example, instead of a Mountain Giant, but probably the Mountain Giant plan is better here. And it's nice that he's also slow, because that means that we get to tap turn 2 and 3 without worrying too much about getting pressured down. We have 2 Hellfires to deal with some board that might come up, but most of his minions get to 4 health and not 3, like the Henchman Clan Thug, and next turn he'll probably play the Felderai Strider, and those all don't die to the Hellfire, so that's kind of unfortunate. We'll see how it plays out, but the fact that we don't have an early answer for the Henchman Clan Thug is kind of a concern. We hope he doesn't have the Sap, or I guess he will maybe clone Felspine now. Yeah. So this is very, very bad for us. So probably what we need to be doing at this point is going for a big swing turn with the Meat Wagon. As long as we don't die next turn, which is unlikely with only 7 attack on the board and 5 mana, we can get the Hooked Reaver, Faceless, and Fulcrum Homunculus all into play if he doesn't kill the Meat Wagon. He can kill off the Meat Wagon, but that's just something that we're going to have to go for probably at this point. And we do have... That's nice, and that actually changes our game plan. This is an easy Spellstone. That Henchman Thug is just too threatening, and it also might mean that he may not be able to kill off the Meat Wagon when we do end up playing it probably next turn with the Homunculus. So this is way better for us. But yeah, if I hadn't drawn the Spellstone there, even though the Meat Wagon was probably getting killed off there, it was maybe still the correct play, and that is something worth keeping in mind, that sometimes you do just go for low tempo plays. So he's putting a lot of pressure on us, and so what I want to make sure is that we don't die. So say if we play Fulgur Homunculus Meat Wagon, which is kind of what I wanted to do, we don't quite die, but we do go very low, and then in case of Leroy Cold Blood is what I'm afraid of right now. I think it is our best play, just because we have so many cards in hand that benefit from us having a portal out. So I will do it, but this is very risky. It's possibly worth going for the Hooked Reaver instead here. I just think that at this point we are pretty far behind, and we want to find a way to bail ourselves out rather than just find a way to win the game rather than just continually not losing. So he might have us here with an Abyss, or okay, he doesn't have lethal yet, but we're almost dead. So this is what I was afraid of. The Hellfires don't help us anymore now, because we die if we use them. However, we can just make sure to get all of these minions up, and we might be able to live. So we have to trade either in here or in here, and then play out all of our other minions. I'm trying to figure out whether or not we automatically die if we do that, and I think we do, because one Hooked Reaver and one Faceless is all of the taunts that we have at this point, and that's not enough, so we have to tap, unfortunately. So that's good, actually. We may be able to do it now, although, okay, so my plan was to go Dreadlord, and Mortal Coil and try to kill this off, but we didn't have the mana for that, and to also play the Faceless Manipulator, so we just die here, fortunately. I don't think there was a way to play that, that we don't die. Let me know in the comments if there was and I didn't see it. But yeah, that was quite a big loss, actually, down to 208. I don't want to go 0-2 in this YouTube video, so I'm going to try and play one more game, see if we do any better. Because the deck has largely held up in terms of win rate for me over the past few days. Like, it hasn't been slouching very much at all. I've been maintaining the 60% roughly, if we take a look at my stats. I've also been playing some other decks, which some of them I have been doing well with, and some of them not as much. We are almost in the game, so I'm going to make this very brief. But over the last 3 days, which is since the point that I got to Legend, I have still maintained very much a positive win rate with my Warlock. So this is unfortunate here. See, the Mage has been doing very well, but the Hunter has been slouching. So a lot of this is actually just due to natural decay. So against the Druid, we definitely mulligan these three. Faceless is worth considering, but yeah, Faceless is definitely worth considering, and I'm thinking about whether or not I should keep it for the Mountain Giant Faceless plan. Still not completely sure on whether or not you do. I think I will. Just because the odds that we draw Mountain Giant are pretty good in general. And even if we don't end up getting it, it can be used to copy the portal or to copy one of their minions once the time comes for that. We have to keep in mind that we can't tap on turn 3. So we have hopefully our draw here to get to our Mountain Giant, but we have a few. We have a little bit of time. So this is just an easy tap turn, obviously. So next turn we can play the Librarian, which is nice, and it'll also upgrade our spellstone. So that's something that we can do on turn 4 if he open summons into the either Violet Teacher or Ironwood Golem. We can still spellstone that down and then trade in, or we can end up playing the Meat Wagon, both of which are pretty good plays. So this is kind of what happens if we don't end up having the spellstone. This is the type of, or the Mountain Giant rather. So worth considering is spellstone here or Meat Wagon. Given that next turn is probably Nourish Hero Power, I'm more tempted to spellstone because that means I can just play the Meat Wagon without fear of it getting traded into Hero Power down and then like spellstone, for example. So I'm going to do that, but I'm not sure if that's correct. It's possible that the Meat Wagon was better there. I also want to wait with the Meat Wagon for a little bit because we have, so this is good. I want to wait with the Meat Wagon because we have the Faceless into Glinda after that, which is looking very good, but we don't have anything to follow it up with yet. So Sea Giant is here now. So that's kind of what I was looking for. Now what we want to try and do is have enough minions on the board that if we kill it off and then Faceless Manipulator Glinda it, we can play a bunch of Sea Giants. So if we kill it off now, the Sea Giant will go down to 6. With Faceless Manipulator, go down to 3. With Glinda, it'll go down to 2. And then we play 1 Phantom Militia, and we can. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we can play 3 of them. So I think I did the math correctly there. Let's see if that does end up being the case. We could also just play the Hooked Reaver, and I think I might actually prefer that, just because we're not going down to 15 anytime soon anyway. And the 2/4s can be used if only one of the spellstones stays up, which is plausible if he trades into it, for example. So we don't have a lot of gas for after this in our hand, so we have to hope that these Sea Giants end up sticking around mostly. He's focusing on the Glinda, which makes sense. He doesn't know that we don't have anything to help us out afterwards. So I am going to tap aggressively here for plays after this. I'm not going to play this out. So we'll just go face. It's actually worth considering whether or not to play the Militia here. Oh, I lost my mouse. Whether or not to play the Militia here, because we drew the second one as well. It does put a little bit more pressure on him if he doesn't have a removal, say, but he does have the ability to armor up. We might be able to get through with the Phantom Militias. So I'll just play them. We have 2 in our hand anyway, and we're going to be tapping for the next 2 turns most likely, regardless. This is not the type of play that we want to be making ever, really, because it doesn't really put that much pressure on. Yeah, so I'm going to tap here. So we have the mana to do anything we want, these 2 spellstones. So I'm going to play the most high pressure play, which means we trade all of these off, and then we replay a Sea Giant and a Despicable Dreadlord. The Despicable Dreadlord would we didn't get there, but yeah, that was looking very good. So yeah, we ended up losing 2 of those matches, but hopefully you still got somewhat of an idea. I think one thing to take away as well is something that I generally strongly dislike is blaming your losses on a good draw by the opponent or a lack of a good draw by you. For example, oh, he drew the Stormwood Champion and I could do nothing about it, and I didn't draw my Dreadlords, and everything sucks. Because often there is something that you could have done to improve your play, and by putting the blame on the draw, you remove any responsibility of yourself and also lose an opportunity to improve. I think probably I could have done better in those games that I lost. Maybe it wouldn't have done anything, but it's worth thinking about at least. So that was the deck again. I dropped a little bit, but yeah, we're still sticking in top 200. I'm going to continue to climb with this, as well as the Murloc Mage, which you saw doing very well. So if you would prefer me switch to different decks, let me know. But I also still do enjoy playing this deck, and still do believe that it's pretty well positioned in the meta. Let me know if you have any feedback, and I will continue uploading. So if you're interested, be sure to subscribe or leave a like and what have you. Thanks for watching, and goodbye.